An easy play.
Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners called the charge for all this love break out the bars. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in
Here's
my
Messi.
garage.
Away from 2, 3, 4. Wonderful.
Keep it rockin'. These chicks be flocking.
All right, guys, welcome in to yourfilterschoice.com, the YFC Wednesday night show, previewing some Thursday, October 21st. Did I get the date right, guys? Yeah, I did. Oh, 22nd content. Here to fact check myself. I'm here with Mr. P. Cole, Mr. Walt Whiteout, WDeuces85 at YFC Sports Pete. Gentlemen, welcome in this evening. I'm glad to have you. How are y'all doing today, guys?
Doing good, hanging in there.
Yeah,
How you
man.
doing, Walt?
Just hanging out this week. It hasn't been a whole lot for me just yet, but about to go whole ham starting tomorrow. We got all our sports, EL and CFB and NFL and all this other good stuff. So I'm ready.
Yeah, I did.
It's coming.
I'm thinking. I was going to say. I think that Walt maybe actually got more than 2 hours of sleep this week on some nights. You look well rested, sir. You look good. It's good having you in, man. Like I said, we're going to be getting with both these guys. Obviously, this evening, we got a good slate. We're going to cover all ends of the spectrum with some Thursday night professional football and the NFL with a Thursday night football game and, of course, the college football showdown as well. And then we are going to be diving into the college football main slate coming up this weekend, along with, a little bit of a preview of some soccer action. We got some League of Legends out there. There's a lot of stuff going on, guys. So if you get a choice, if you get a chance, I apologize here. I'm getting back with it, guys. I'm on some meds. We were talking a little bit pre-show, but, I'm here. I'm with you guys. So this is a Wednesday night stream, YFC. Check us out, yourfilterschoice.com, 20% off your first 3 months. Discount right now. Walt, tell us what we can expect from you, and then obviously we'll go jump right into Pete, man.
Yeah, so they just now posted the college football main slate pricing up on DraftKings, but we'll do our typical, 3 highlighted plays that I like initially, give a little numbers, and then maybe, a couple other plays in the slate that I've had a chance now to dig into and get you guys ready. We have our podcast coming up tomorrow with some more data, but, get you guys ready and start thinking about who you want to start having in your lineups for Saturday.
Yeah, excellent, man. Well, Walt, hey, I appreciate you, brother. You are going to be taking up the middle portion, the meat and potatoes of the show. So hang tight with us, and we are going to be jumping right into Mr. P. Cole. Like I said, guys, keep the chat active. Keep Walt awake here. He's been well rested. We were just talking about that, how he didn't have a whole lot going on this week, but I do want him to be ready to go as always. So we're going to jump right in with some Thursday night football and start that off with Pete Cole. We're going to be joining Walt here in a second. As we do jump into that, excuse me, Pete, I do have to ask you something. Is it possible for me to order on your room service tab, or how do I go about getting drinks? Is there a mini bar, or what's going on over there?
Well, I can't look at the chat because I'm just going to keep laughing. So, Good Wrench. He already guessed which hotel I'm in, so he's on me.
He's on you, man. There's not any kind of microwaves in the background or anything. You didn't give us the primo view, so we're gonna have to just set up. Yeah, we're gonna have to settle with what you got there, brother. If anybody breaks in, don't worry. We'll send help out there to Pete Cole. So, guys, at YFC Sports Pete, at YFC Sports V12, I'm Adam. This is Pete. Pete, I want you to start us off with Thursday Night Football. Let's talk a little bit about. We have one of the greatest NFL teams, NFL franchises in the history of the league, and then we got the Giants. So I want you to tell me what your thoughts are in regards to this Thursday Night Football slate. I promise you, I am not partial to any team. I will be down the middle. I will be fair and honest.
Well, man, these Thursday night games, we come up with a nickname, seems like every week, right? So what are we going to come up with? This is actually a battle for almost first place, I guess, because whoever wins,
that's right,
can be. Dallas is in first place at 2-4. Both of these teams, we see the Eagles are 1-4-1. The Giants are 1-5. So whoever wins is going to be tied for wins for first place. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that somebody said, I think actually Walt put something in one of our chats about firing the NFC East into the sun, or maybe I just saw that on Twitter. There's a lot of NFC East hate out there right now, but, hey, look, there's money to be made. Sometimes we got to put our allegiances to the side. So, tell me a little bit. I want you to start us off in regards to what you're thinking about this slate, and you can start us off on positions, and I'll just kind of, chime in here and there with my impartial takes.
All right. So, one thing I just found interesting was, is over under 45, which is kind of low. Philadelphia, the implied dropped a little bit during the day today. Philadelphia opened at 25.25. Now they're down to 24.75.
Right.
The over under stayed the same. The Giants went up from 1970 to 2025. So it's still 4.5. It's still 4.5 favorite, but it looks like the Giants total's gone up a little bit. So, and like you said, it's not the greatest. I was watching something earlier. Somebody said they made the same comment. Everybody's complaining about these Thursday night football games, but you know what? Back in July, everybody was complaining about just wanting to see football, right? And everybody wanted to see preseason football. So we get NFL tomorrow, and we get started with quarterbacks. We get Carson Wentz, and Wentz. I go back and forth on him all day. I think I'm more of a truther than a lot of people are on Wentz. I still think he's a good quarterback. His price is decent. He's 10,800. Averaging 39 attempts per game, which actually is pretty good for DFS. But he's only averaging 233 yards per game, 6 yards per attempt, which is kind of poor. But the main thing is his O-line. His O-line is terrible. This team, they need some help with linebackers. They need some help with some wide receivers. But, with the trade deadline coming up, they have this O-line is going to cripple this guy. This guy is going to be by the time he's 50, he's going to be crippled. They have at Sunday's game, I think by the end of the game, they ended up with 2 third stringers, 2 second stringers, and then they had 30. How old is Jason Kelsey? He's 35 years old on an offensive line.
That's a Pro Bowl center, man. You can't talk too much about the Pro Bowl center. But like you said, there ain't nobody around him.
Right. So, the guy's been sacked 25 times.
Anchor line with a bunch of Yeah.
So,
it's been a rough go of it, man.
He's going to get hurt. 22 hits.
Yeah, I agree with you, brother. I agree with you, man. There's no safety in what, like you said, you always got to consider, man, is this the slate that Wentz goes down somewhere after just taking too many knocks? How many hits can you take even at that age? He's done it year after year getting hurt. It's just when he's in there, if you told me he's going to play the whole game, I would, and I've been successful at targeting the overs on Prize Picks with Wentz because I'm if he plays the whole game, the prop's too low. But it's hard to predict injuries. So if he's there and he's in and he's playing, you got to figure he's going to be one of the highest gross point scorers on the slate.
And you're right. This guy's dropped back 235 times. There's only 3 quarterbacks in the NFL have actually dropped back more than him. But he's also been hit 22 times and sacked 25 times. So, but getting back to it, it's a winnable game for him. And this could actually put Philadelphia on a little bit of a streak because after this game, they got Dallas, and I think they got the Giants again. So, and the last 2 games, he hasn't done bad. He's thrown 40. He's completed 41 of 75 passes. Those 2 games, 471 yards, 4 touchdowns. So, for what he's working with, I'm going to play Wentz tomorrow. So, I'm not sure he's going to be my captain spot, but he's definitely going to be my lineup because of a person who I'm not going to play tomorrow is Daniel Jones. I just have no use for Jones for the Giants.
Right.
He's 10,400. He's only $400 cheaper than Wentz. We do know he can put a team on his back. He's done it. He's carried the team last year. Remember his first start, he had 330 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Then that big comeback win over the Bucks. I think it was week 3. He came back and won, and then a couple of games against the Jets, the Lions. He had 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. But is he going to do it against the Eagles? No. It's a big game too. Philadelphia is allowing 68% completion rate. I'm allowing 11 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions, 253 yards to the QB. But Jones he's not doing it. He's just not doing it. I don't trust him.
Yeah.
He's not throwing the ball downfield. Why? I don't know. Is it the new system? Is it the new coaches? Or is he just caution? He's just being cautionary because he wants to eliminate turnovers. He doesn't have a game over 300 yards this year. He's got 3 games and 200 yards. And that's it. He's got 6 interceptions, 3 fumbles. So I'm totally off Jones.
I can tell you why, Pete. I can tell you why he's struggling because they got this guy running the offense. They got that. When he was in Dallas, what did he do? He's we got to run the ball. We got to establish the run. Yeah, he's just not. he's not going to let him open it up. And Jones last year, he had kind of had that freedom to kind of say, hey, we're not trying to win anything. Granted, having a healthy Saquon Barkley is obviously going to help you out a lot. But when you got, Coach Clappy Hands at offensive coordinator, there's some restrictions there. He's going to be running his offense and his mindset of what he can do. He's thinking, oh, it doesn't matter if I have Saquon Barkley in there or not. I'm going to still try to run the ball. But the reality is that they've been very, very bad at, staying on the field. The Eagles are going to look at this game and be like, hey, look, we may not have a Miles Sanders, and I know we're going to get into those positions, but we can still run the ball effectively, the short passing game, and we don't have to go downfield. Luckily, though, they do have a weapon in Deshaun Jackson, who the Giants fans fear at all times, and even at his advanced age, I do think that he's going to be impressive and make an impact here. But just from what we're talking about, like you said, the Eagles they're gonna find a way to do it. It's not gonna be pretty, but it's just because of the lack of what the Giants are. The Giants I don't feel like have any ambition to want to win this division or win games. Period. Right now, they know they don't have Saquon, so it's kind of like it's the Eagles' game to lose. Unfortunately, I hate being in that position as a fan, but I do think that's what it is.
Definitely, and I have no use. I mean, maybe Dane Dimes do something tomorrow, but I have no use for him tomorrow unless you're multi-entering lineups.
Right.
I mean, that's the only way I'm going to play him. So, I mean, that's all I got to really talk about the quarterbacks. I mean, I said I'm in the Wentz. He may be MVP in some. But running backs, I mean, no Miles Sanders tomorrow. So, who do we got? We got Boston Scott, who I think is a great play. I mean, at the end of last year, we saw him and kind of was looking like a Darren Sproles clone a little bit.
Right.
He's gonna be chalky. But he's a dual threat running back. Especially if the Eagles can get out to a lead with a positive game script, expect probably 20 touches out of him. So I like him a lot. He saw all the work last week. I don't think Corey Clement even saw a touch. So that's what you want in DFS showdowns, right? You want a guy who's always going to be touching the ball. And the Giants, I mean, right now they're seeding 26 fantasy points a game to running backs, and they're allowing 6 catches for 50 yards to running backs. So that's pretty good numbers for Boston Scott. And I don't think, besides Corey Clement is not doing anything, he's got no competition. So he's definitely, I think, a good captain candidate, maybe even cash too. And so in GPPs, I like Scott, and I kind of like Devontae Freeman a little bit too. A lot of people are off him. I mean, the price of 7.4 is a little high. If he was a little bit lower, I'd really be on him. But I think it's fair enough price because last week he played 73% of the snaps.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Scott, 100% of the carries. So, he saw 2/3 of the running back targets. He only ran 11 routes, but still, it's something. And if this guy if he could score, at that price, especially if he does have a chance at 2 touchdowns, it's the nuts right there. So I kind of like Freeman too, really.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a ton of mileage on him either. I mean, he came from the Atlanta system that obviously they felt good about going after, guys like Gurley and things like that. But even when he was there, who is it that he split with for a long time? He went to the 49ers and he's gone now, or maybe he's hurt. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Coleman.
Yeah, Tevin Coleman.
It was Coleman.
Tevin
Coleman.
They had kind of that split workload type of thing. And even with Ito Smith there, they were trying, so that he didn't really get the mileage that you would expect from a lot of those running backs. But I do think they brought him in to progressively move him towards that role of like, hey, we don't have Saquon. Dion Lewis is not a 3-down back, so we got to have somebody in there. Like you said, 73% of snaps. Gallman had 8%, 4 snaps. Elijah Penny had 5 snaps. Those are special team guys at this point. I know Gallman got some love back in the day. Dion Lewis is going to be your 3rd down back. It makes sense here. If we don't believe in Danny Dimes, we got to believe that somebody's got to do it. And, we know Freeman can catch out of the backfield. The Eagles are aggressive defensively. They are susceptible to that running back screen. That is something that I have seen them get beat with. So I'm 100% like from a flex position standpoint, I would probably lock in Freeman if I played 20 lineups. Just being honest, because I do feel that's a position that they could get exposed by. Captain, I do think he limits his upside, so I'm not really on that. I'd like you lean more towards you, like you said with Boston Scott, but like you said, Darren Sproles, light or not even really light anymore. I mean, the guy he's flashed some ability. I really like Scott a lot. He really kind of has a place in my heart as a fan, but at the same time, you can see the ability and the PPR upside for DraftKings type of scoring there. And from a FanDuel standpoint, I obviously would look more towards Freeman there, but I don't think we can just dismiss Corey Clement altogether. I do think that you can limit in or throw him in there, but 5,200, that's a lot, man, for what he's done. He's going to be low owned, so I can give you that.
Right. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. So that's what we got for running backs.
All right.
And like once again, I have a little bit of in my heart for Freeman. I remember when he first came out and season long, he won me a lot. Like that first year, I was a big Freeman person, but he's one of those guys that gets frustrated every year. But you think he's gonna have a big game, or Coleman would come in and score. So I know exactly what you're talking about with Coleman. So running receivers, Travis Fulgham. I love this kid. I think a lot of people did. He's a kid from he's a walk on at Old Dominion. Came in and he's only $8,800. Double digit. He's had double digit targets in multiple weeks. Fulgham. Last week he was 6 for 75 with 1 touchdown. He had 9 targets. He led the team in 40 routes. To me, he's all the Eagles right now. He was in a tough spot. He dominated a tough spot. I think he made his case for the top receiver on the team, even with Djax coming back, Alshon, Rieger, all these guys come back. I really think Fulgham's found himself a spot.
Yeah.
And he's going to be in a lot of my lineups. And this is kind of a telling stat I found today when I was researching a little bit. Next Generation, they do stat tracking, and they track actually they call it cushion, and what it is how many yards the defensive back plays off a receiver at the line of scrimmage before the snap. And
okay.
for the first 2 weeks, Fulgham was a middle of the road receiver, anything normal. But last week when they played the Ravens, they gave him the 4th largest cushion among wide receivers in the whole NFL. They gave him an average of 8.2 yards of space. So that's pretty big time. That's obviously showing this kid a lot of respect. And obviously the Ravens are giving him some respect. What's he going to do with the Giants here? So I'm big on Travis Fulgham, 8,800. I could even use him at captain at 13.4. I'm all over him. Alshon's coming back. I just think, he's going to be rusty. I just think 7,200 is expensive for Alshon. I think he's coming. Last I saw, I think he's coming back. And if DJ back, you're still going to see Ward in the slot, I think. But all these other guys, you got to play Fulgham. The other guys, I think, are just. You even know more than I do about the rest of them. Where they're going to play, but. Probably.
Yeah, I think they're going to keep Alshon out from everything that I read from some Eagles stuff earlier. So Djax will be back. So we will see some Deshaun Jackson. So
it can hurt you.
Yeah. Did you hear me about Alshon? About he's gone? Yeah, he won't be in. So I do think it lifts up your guys like your Hightowers and gives them a few more snaps. And of course your Greg Ward. I like Greg Ward a lot, actually. I think that the great thing about Fulgham is that he's running about a 12-yard ADOT. So his average depth of reception or average depth target distance is going to be around that first down marker or more. He's not that underneath receiver. So Wentz is going to look downfield towards him. He's not just going to sit there and just try to, play those unders. That's more of the Greg Ward territory that we're going to look at there. The reason Greg Ward is so good at those underneath and those short routes is that, being a former quarterback, he knows, that's always those guys, a former quarterbacks, they know what the quarterback needs, and he plays that role so well. So Fulgham, I like him a lot. I never thought I would be playing a showdown with him at 8.8K or whatever he's at right now. But, it is where we're at, man. This is the world that we live in right now. So he's very much a thing. If you're just asking from an Eagles receiver standpoint, from guys that I'm like, well, as a fan, as somebody that watches the team, outside of Fulgham, some Djax, and then Greg Ward, the Arcega Whitesides, the Hightowers, those guys, they're just super GPP. Even like the backup tight end or Jason Kroom, he might get some love. Obviously, he caught a touchdown there, but I would just stay away because I know that Fulgham's going to run routes like you said. I know he's going to be on the field a lot. I know Ward and now Deshaun Jackson. I feel like they're going to play a lot of three wide receiver sets. Those are going to be the guys that are out there because they can't really trust Richard Rodgers and Jason Kroom as the tight ends underneath to run those Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert positions. Anything else you got on that, Pete, on the wide receivers, maybe for the other side? Hello? All right. we might have lost Pete here for a second. We'll get him back here shortly. But guys, like I said, let me just kind of round that out from the DraftKings standpoint on the Giants side, wide receiver wise. Like I said, you have your Darius Slayton. I know Shepard is out right now. Slayton is actually extremely expensive at 9.2. However, he has become Daniel Jones, one of his favorite targets, as we talked about earlier with Darius Slayton. Like I said, he had 4 targets last game, 11 the week before, 7 and 7 to kind of round out those last 4 weeks. 25 receptions, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns on the year. He's somebody, like I said, that you can always target a wide receiver 1 against the Eagles because if they're able to be moving around, if they're staying on one side and Darius Slay is going to lock them down, which I think is what may happen here with Slayton. I could be wrong, but he's the projected matchup right now. I would try to look elsewhere. My personal favorite would be Evan Ingram. I know kind of transitioning into the tight ends, obviously the Eagles are struggling right now, man. We don't have Ertz. We don't have Goddard. It's pretty depressing, but at the same time, like I said, Doug Peterson's going to find a way. So with that, like I said, you have, Evan Ingram on one side who should catch a ton of passes. I mean, we've been waiting for him to break out. He didn't really do it against the Dallas Cowboys. He didn't do it in any of the other weeks that we probably played him. I think he was against Washington last week, only got 3 targets, 2 catches for 30 yards. So obviously we're struggling there in regards to the actual tight end position for the New York Giants, but just because of the offense. I mean, Jason Garrett did not use the tight end much whenever, he was in Dallas. He had Jason Witten, but if you're looking at the years that span whenever Witten wasn't really there was nobody in there that stepped up. They had guys like Rico Gathers, people that came in. This is before Dalton Schultz. So obviously the tight end was never an emphasis there. And I know Evan Ingram's plenty talented, but whether they use him or not, who really knows there? So like I said, from the Eagles side, tight end, we talked about Richard Rodgers, formerly of the Green Bay Packers. We talked about Jason Kroom as well, also that he caught a touchdown this last week. Both of these guys are going to be used in a limited capacity, but I don't see anybody that's going to be extremely important for me on the Showdown slate. And as we bring Pete back in, you back with us, brother?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good, man. Did the bellhop come in and unplug your Wi-Fi?
I think my 24 hours is up for the room. I had to...
That's good stuff, man. Now, I was just covering out. We kind of talked a little bit about Darius Slayton, some of the Giants wide receivers and how that looked up there. And one thing I kind of said was, just looking at it, if they're going to put Darius Slay on Slayton, I think that's going to be really tough for me to really want to play him, especially at that salary. So obviously looking at some of the other options that are on there, there's not a whole lot from the wide receiver standpoint in regards to the Giants. I do think that I thought Sterling Shepard was on IR. He's being projected. Is he coming back?
I keep seeing questionable too, so I keep saying maybe
Game
back
time.
tomorrow, he may not.
Okay.
Right, so, and I was going to say a thing about Slayton because I keep saying Darius Slay may be on him or maybe on for a lot of the game. I mean, Slayton's, good, and to me, 9,200 is way too much for this brutal offense to play Slayton at all. So,
yeah,
I have, one other value pick I was looking at. I mean, looking through it, you may even know more than me, being an Eagles fan, is this Hakeem Butler for $200. I mean, I know it's a total dart. But with Ertz out and Goddard out, I mean, he's a converted receiver, so I'm thinking he might get some downfield routes or looks. I mean, that's the only guy I was kind of digging in a little bit. It was Butler. But
yeah, so Hakeem Butler, I remember him coming out, and Walt may be able to help me with this. I'm thinking he was at Arizona. I could be wrong, but he was a receiver. I know he was a big-time college guy coming out. And I think he went to Arizona. He went to the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm guessing he got dropped and everything like that. But he's not a blocking guy, so if you want to throw a dart, if this guy's going to be active, he was a healthy scratch. But if it's the same guy, and I'm pretty sure it is by looking at his picture on there, I mean, being asked to learn the tight end position, I could definitely see a package of plays there for him. If you're going to expect him to be there any more than about 15 snaps, I think you're mistaking yourself on there. But I mean, he could. They need healthy bodies. So Hakeem Butler, I know he was a stud actually if you follow Dynasty Fantasy Football coming in, he was actually a guy that a lot of people were on and he was kind of a bust. But converted tight end, we'll see what happens, man. I think that it's worth looking at. I don't mind that as a value play, but it's not like one of those value plays that I'm like, oh, I'm going to lock him in my MME, But yeah, he's definitely somebody out there. I mean, honestly, the guy that I would take from a darts standpoint on this slate from any team would probably be Kroom. Just because, I mean, he showed that, he can get open in the end zone. It was only a 3-yard touchdown catch, but there was a lot of really good coach speak. A lot of good things were being said about him. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, he got signed pretty recently. I think he was signed in October, to be honest with you. But, obviously, he was supposed to be like that fourth tight end. And then there's no Goddard. So he's the third tight end behind Rodgers and Ertz. And guess what? No Ertz. So, I mean, $200. If he's not high owned, I mean, count me interested because I'm going to be interested one way or another. And John Hightower at $1,200, I like a lot too. He was drafted pretty high for the Eagles as a receiver, where they're going to use draft capital on him. He's going to be in their plan, so he'll probably take over that fourth wide receiver role tomorrow. But yeah, I don't have anything else, man. Anything else you got to round us out before we switch over to college?
Nope, that's all I got for NFL.
All right, guys. So let's go and switch over to college football showdown for Thursday night before the bellhop comes in again and cuts Pete off. We don't want that to happen, God forbid. So I know your wife probably giggled about that. She's probably like, "Oh, Peter."
Yep. They're laughing now.
That's funny, man. Let's switch over to college football showdown. Tell me what we got on the slate for tomorrow.
All right, we got. It seems like we're all going to become experts on these Arkansas State and Appalachian State and all these guys and Louisiana's and stuff. But we have Arkansas State tomorrow against Appalachian State. It's actually, I think it's going to be a good game. They got 66.5 over under. Arkansas State is 3-2, 1-1 in the Sun Belt. Appalachian State is 2-1, 0-0 in the Sun Belt. Arkansas State's come up that big game last week, a 59-52 shutout, 59-52 shootout. A lot of our guys did really well last week in that showdown. Walt did, our college expert, and a lot of subs did. We also we also had some last minute news, which saved a lot of people some money on Coates and some of the guys. So which I know Walt's gonna talk about that in his section too on the weekend on some of our breaking news. But they had a big one in Georgia State. They had 551 yard passing, eight touchdowns. But the funny thing is, Blake Anderson, the coach of Arkansas State, after the game, he ended up firing the defensive coordinator and firing the defensive passing game coordinator.
Wow.
So, but obviously, I guess you give up 52 points. I mean, a win's a win, but still. So, but they're coming again. Appalachian State is a really good team, but the problem it's their first game since September 26th. So they might have some rust here between cancellations and bye weeks. The last game was Campbell, and they ran wild on Campbell. They had 404 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns.
Wow.
So obviously, Appalachian State's a running team, but they're a good team. So get into the quarterback for our showdown. We dealt with this last week. Arkansas State's a two-headed monster. Yeah, both quarterbacks doing really well. Actually, Arkansas State leads the nation with 23 touchdowns and 384 yards per game. The problem is we're using 2 quarterbacks. Logan Bonner is usually the starter. Lynn Hatcher is like the relief pitcher, but they're totally almost even in their dropbacks, their snaps, and their pass attempts. Last week, Hatcher was the high scorer, but they're even in everything. So, I mean, GVPs, yeah, you want to take a chance on one of them. I don't know, maybe play both of them, but you can't play these guys in cash. GVP
Right.
only. And the other thing is Appalachian State is actually only allowing 163 yards in the air, so it's something else to think about. They're good defense.
Okay.
So that takes us to Appalachian State and Zach Thomas. He's your play pretty much by default. Since you're not going to play the Arkansas State quarterbacks, they don't throw a lot, but when they do, I mean, this guy's a trusted veteran. He's a senior. He completes 62.3% of his passes, and
Right.
he will run. Last week he ran a little bit. His last game he ran a little bit. And last week we saw Cornelius Brown, what he did to Arkansas State. He ran 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now Zach Thomas is no Cornelius Brown, but just shows that they can run on him a little bit. So Zach Thomas is your definite play. You get him in your cash lineups, probably not in a captain spot, but you got to get him in a utility spot in your cash lineups. So that's our quarterback position.
Okay. All right. Pretty straightforward. I mean, like you said, you can't really, you can flip a coin and try to get one of these quarterbacks to pop. And I mean, the nuts would be if a quarterback got hurt and the other guy got just the whole run. But even then, you're still paying up for him. It's not like you're getting him at $7K. So.
Right, and if you're mass entering, yeah, throw them in there because look what happened last week. They both still had good scores. But
Yeah.
Appalachian State's a little bit of a different animal too, so and they're a lot tougher defense. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just saying, I mean, I told y'all's information, you and Walt, this last week. I mean, for that showdown, I didn't really have to dig in too much, but like I said, I kind of went with what y'all said and I followed that, and that was a successful week. So I think that you guys have been right on in regards to that. I just want to advise people, if they're not already doing it, to listen to you guys, to read this stuff, and to get in the Discord because it's free, but you can get to premium, which is where most of our messages go to. So just want to highly advise that. If you like money, that's my recommendation to you guys. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pete.
No, and it's true because I'm not just tooting our own horn, but we put an extreme amount of time into college sports. I mean, college football is crazy. I mean, me and Walt putting a lot of hours into it, especially as we got these weekday showdowns. But it's showing.
Yeah.
I mean, last week, if I remember right, I mean, we had either a takedown or second place on the first game, and Friday night, I mean, I did the small $10. I think you did, Adam. I mean, we all were taking down stuff. So, I mean, you think we're good at main slates? I mean, try us for showdown. So we're gonna win.
There you go.
Arkansas State running backs, they're a mess. The running backs are a total mess. Appalachian State, though, is susceptible to the run. I mean, they're allowing 4 yards per carry, but Arkansas State doesn't have any. Marcel Murray, who is pretty much their starter, he's still a game time decision. Last week, they only averaged 1.49 yards per carry. They're actually the bottom third nationally, and I think they have no ability to even run this week. If Murray's out, you got two guys, Jamal Jones, who didn't do much last week, and Lincoln Parr. I mean, Jones had 13 carries, Parr had 10. They both combined for 63 yards, nothing special. But Parr also had 2 touchdowns receiving, so he's a better value. He's obviously cheaper, so if you're going to go one of them, go the $3,000 guy who might catch a touchdown or two. But that's pretty much as value plays or GBPs on the Appalachian State side. I mean, we actually have a good problem. I mean, to me, this is like the key to the whole slate. You got 2 cheap running backs, first of all. You got Marcus Williams and Cameron Peoples. Marcus Williams is 6,200. Cameron Peoples is 1,800.
Wow.
And the thing is, right now, if you look on DK, they're both listed as out, but the depth charts are showing them in. All the reports I'm seeing are both of them in. So I said they're both on the depth charts right now. And if you look at, they both sat the Campbell game, but in 2 games this year, Peoples has actually carried about 25 times, 13 one game, 12 carries another, and all that for $1,800 running back. He'll be in all my lineups.
Yeah, lock him in. Oh,
definitely
yeah.
At that price. I mean, Williams carried his only game. He carried 14 times, which is still good. But you can pretty much play 2 running backs in his team because your other running back you have to play. And yes, they're on rotation, but you got this guy, Dietrich Harrington, $10,000. But against Campbell, he had 211 yards and 4 touchdowns. So Harrington's pretty much in all my lineups, maybe in a captain spot. Right now, you're going to play Harrington and Peoples together unless you see some other news that Peoples is out or whatever. And also for GBPs, don't be afraid to use Marcus Williams. He's going to be low owned, so everybody's going to be going a Harrington Peoples route. But Harrington's a really good running back, and Peoples at 1,800, you're going to get a guy that's going to touch the ball 13 times. Right. I mean, yes, it's a rotation, but you're definitely going to take that risk for a guy $1,800.
Yeah, and I heard that Isaiah Azubuike named quite a bit watching the game, sweating out a GPP takedown on the last time we played. So let me ask you that. Like, I mean, 1K, we can't really go wrong punting down there. I know we already have the Cameron Peoples value, but I mean, if you had another value play, I think he's going to get some snaps. I mean, he should at least see some time, right?
Yeah, and I'm trying to call up. My internet is still screwing up here. I'm trying to call up what I had for snap counts and stuff, but.
Yeah, I know he was out there because I heard him quite a bit. I don't know if it was more like just a change of pace, but he seemed like the that kind of not scat back, but he was a kind of a third down back. But they ran him a lot up the middle. They ran that really quick, fast-paced offense. So he should be somebody that that is at least mentionable, I guess, at his price because they didn't price him up at all.
Yeah, I don't have my price in front of me. I'm sorry about that, but I mean
that's all right. That's all good. Let's move on because I mean I think you already hit on some good running back plays here. Let's move towards the end of your running backs. The summary on that, and if you want to go into wide receivers, we can do that.
Yeah. So for our running backs, you pretty much stay away from Arkansas State. I mean, you can use Lincoln Parr because he's cheap. He actually went up a little bit though to 3,000, but he can catch a touchdown. You want to play at least 2 of the 3 Appalachian State running backs with Harrington and Peoples, and throw Williams in some GPPs.
Okay.
Going receivers. This can get fun too, because Arkansas State is probably have one of the best receiving core in the country, led by my main man Jonathan Adams. I praise him every week. I've been praising him since week 1. He's my favorite receiver in football. He's an All-American candidate. The kid's averaging over 100 yards per game, so I'm all over him. He's a definite captain spot and running and for GPPs, but there is a little bit of some concern because he is going to get probably covered most of the time by this kid in Appalachian State named Shamar John Charles. And Charles leads the nation right now with 2.7 pass breakups per game. He's the highest PFF graded defensive player at Appalachian State, so I'm assuming he's going to be at Adams a lot. But I do think Adams is kind of matchup proof, and I'm not sure if John Charles is going to shadow him all game, but just something to think about. So if you're making multi lineups, you could possibly think about fading Adams in some GPPs, and running the other two receivers, because they have 3 really good receivers. The other one's Dahu Green at 9,600. He's got 5 touchdowns in his last 3 games. Last game was Georgia State, 9 catches, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. Right. He had a monster game. And it brings us to our third guy, Brandon Bowling. He's 7,400. He runs out of the slot. He's no slouch either. He's had 4 touchdowns in his last 3 weeks. We did the strategy last week, which we'll probably do it again. I know Walt ran that. You can run all three receivers. Run Green, Bowling, and Adams. Yeah. You can possibly run that in your cash lineups if you want. But they're an awesome receiving core, one of the best core in the country. So you want to get at least 2 of those 3 receivers in your main lineup.
Yeah, because Green got a price bump for sure. He was definitely not in the 9K range. So 9.6, he's a little bit more expensive. I think Adams was around 9.6 this last game. So obviously, I mean, rightfully so. I think he had like 15 catches or something 15 for 177. That's crazy. I had him as a captain in one, and then I had him in all my lineups, but that captain lineup it got me up there for sure. But I think he was in the core of plays that if you had, you absolutely smashed. So, I mean, like you said, he could get covered on here. So you like those top 3. Is there any other values out there?
No, because you're going to Appalachian State. They don't throw much. And like the running backs, they got 3 receivers. Mm-hmm. They're all close in snaps. You got Thomas Hennigan, Vigil, and Malik Williams. They're all 3 close in snaps. You probably don't need any of them in your main lineups. So you want to concentrate on the Arkansas State 3, the Appalachian State 2 running backs, and you're running back with your main quarterback. You stay with the Arkansas State quarterbacks, and we should be fine. It should be an easy game to cash.
Okay. Good, man. I'm not really seeing too much down there that I'm like, oh, I just have to get this or have to get that. I'm trying to look at some of these names that popped up, but honestly, like you said, most of the targets were funneled to those 3 guys this last game, and of course, just stuff out of the backfield. But okay, any interest in any of the kicker position or just general overall strategy? You kind of talked us through building a lineup anyway. What do you want to leave us with in regards to this college football showdown?
Pretty much, we just got to pay attention to the inactives tomorrow night. College football's been. Said stay with us. I think it's a 7:30 game, so stay with us on Discord because Thursday night we broke the news actually earlier Thursday afternoon on the news last week, and then even on the Saturday morning news. So it seems to happen every game, and we will have a chat tomorrow night. I'm not sure, probably around 6 p.m., but we'll let everybody know. But we got everybody in good position here. It should be another game. We should all be cashing. And this game's Friday night too, so we'll have something Friday evening for that. I know Walt's gonna have an article for the Friday. I think it's a 3-gamer now. It's no longer a 4-gamer, but Walt can fill you all in on that on his portion.
All right, man. Good stuff, man. And that's at YFC Sports P Cole. He's with us remotely right now, and we appreciate you, man. Thank you to your wife for giving us the opportunity to have you for a little while on this show. I don't know what you're drinking over there. She getting you liquored up, man. There's no kids around. Oh, okay, man. I'm just saying, take advantage of every opportunity you can. You can be like me. There's probably a kid behind my bed right now. I'm just being honest with you. There's a lot of them in this house. So if one pops up, you guys already know that's what's happening. So, hey, Pete, man, I appreciate you joining us, brother. Thank you for all of the info. Tell us real quick before we leave you, what shows can we expect from you the rest of this week through the weekend?
Well, tomorrow we're going to have the World Series. I believe there's a game tomorrow. I'm not sure which is the off day, but there's a game about the World Series show at 12:30. We'll have some more trivia.
Okay.
We do it like today. We did that trivia contest. We gave out some GPP tickets, and then we'll have hopefully Walt can join me on a Showdown college Showdown show tomorrow evening before the 7:30 game. That's it.
All right. Excellent. And that's Pete Coleman at YFC Sports P. Be sure to check him out in our free Discord. Check him out on Twitter. Ask him questions. Pick that guy's brain, man. He's going to make you some money. We appreciate you having you on the team, Mr. Pete. And, of course, we're going to be bringing in from the West Coast. It's our East Coast guy. We got our West Coast guy now at Dub Deuces 85. Walt Waddell, college basketball premier expert, college football, college sports, niche sports. The guy does it all, man. We're blessed to have you, Walt. Thanks for being patient with us, joining us in. You're here to talk a little bit about our college football main slate, man. But before we do that, you doing good, man? You hanging in there with us, ready to roll, right?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, definitely. I'm all hyped. We were
right,
talking
brother.
East Coast, West Coast in the Discord today. It's a big conversation about rappers today. So
I know. I was gonna say there's a lot of heated debate out there, man. I try to stay neutral. Me here in Texas, I'm just like, hey guys, East Side, West Side, like, give me a brisket and a beer. Like that's kind of how we roll down in the South. But it's good. Yeah, it's good having you, brother. Let's talk a little bit about college football and what we got on the slate.
All right, so yeah, we have a nice main slate coming up. We had all hoped that Mountain West and Big Ten would be on the slate. Those games are starting this weekend, but the stat providers for DraftKings and FanDuel aren't able to come through. The choice was to have those games with no live stats, which we already experienced a couple weeks ago. That was horrible. Or to not have those games and have live stat tracking. So they did opt for that. So we'll have another slate with mostly SEC, ACC, and Big 12, which is
okay.
At this point we know these teams pretty well, or we should. And it's still got some good games on it. So I know a lot of people are disappointed about that, but it's okay. And then, to piggyback a little bit off of what Pete said about some of the injury news, because there's a couple of other providers who are claiming they were the only ones, but we were on top of the Destin Coates, Cornelius McCoy injury for Georgia State. We're not even injured. They just we're not playing. We were on that very early. They were both owned like 30 to 40% in most contests, so you got out of that. You mostly cashed. And then on the main slate, we had talked about Kylan Hill earlier in the week, and on our podcast, there was rumors about him maybe not playing. That came to fruition. He didn't play. And then Coxie, it was, we got that really early in the morning, and it was talked about on some of the UCF boards about him not playing at all. And he still ended up being like 30% owned, and he's now opted out of the Memphis program completely. So Pete and I and a couple other guys, we're really heavy on the news. We're all over Twitter. We're reading message boards. We're doing that extra legwork to get that edge because.
Yeah, when you guys
yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying. I was going to say that whenever you guys had that in there, it was nowhere else. I even looked. I was like, "Nah, is that real?" And I looked on there. I couldn't find it on Twitter. And when you can search that on Twitter. Usually, it's instant. So you guys, literally, I feel like y'all broke that. I mean, I don't know, maybe one or two sources out there, but like you said, what was the percentages again, Coxie in cash?
So Coxie was 30%. Kylan Hill wasn't that much because he was kind of priced up.
Right.
So he was only like 5 or 10%, whatever. And then Coates on the Showdown slate, he was 40% in cash. And on a Showdown slate, if you get a guy who's 40%, I mean, that's nearly auto cash. It ended up being a crazy slate, high scoring. You need like 250 to do anything. But, if you avoided those guys who are not playing at that percentage, you probably min cashed at least. So, we're pretty proud of that. We're definitely for the message board. So we'll continue to do that. With COVID, it's going to be a big thing, always. And then also in college basketball, there's already teams dealing with that. Marquette today, they have to shut down their team activity. So that's going to be a big one because college basketball is every day. So the news is going to be popping like crazy. So we'll be doing that for you guys diligently as always.
Cool. Awesome.
But yeah, so main slate talk. I have, I want to highlight my favorite three initially, and then I have a couple value plays I want to talk about. But first, Bo Nix seems to be the guy that I've been liking him all year. He hasn't done a whole lot in some of these games, but overall he's looked pretty decent. He does get the matchup against Ole Miss this week, which is one of the best ones that you could possibly get for a quarterback. They are giving up 580 total yards of offense, 315 of it being through the air. It's a 70.5 over under, which is great. and he's only 7K. So there's a
Right.
lot of like your boy Ellinger is almost 10K this week, and I know he's a monster and he does well, but 10K is a lot to invest in a QB.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You're gonna need like Jalen Hurts-esque type numbers there, which he could do it, but he just doesn't have the running game to do it. So I'd rather take that 3K discount on someone like Bo Nix.
Okay.
He has a 58% completion rate, 868 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. He's thrown 40 plus passes in 2 of his last 4, the 4 games they played this year. So they're throwing the ball a lot more. Their running back situation has been a little murky. Pete's boy Tank Bigsby is starting to emerge a little bit, but they're still throwing the rock. This last one, he threw 40 plus passes again. So, they get that Ole Miss defense that just gives it up in droves. So I would expect to see Nix put up a 300 plus yard game, get the bonus for you. Get guys like Schwartz and Williams and Stove involved. So there's a stackability in this game being so high total. We saw last week with the Memphis UCF game, you could damn near full stack it and win tournaments. This has potential to be a game similar to that. Just because every week Ole Miss plays, they don't believe in defense. Sorry, Wes, but he knows it's true. So Bo Nix is the QB that I'm looking at initially. Before we went on, the pricing just dropped, so my plays on the article may be a little different in terms of core, but these were just the first 3 that really stuck out to me. Javonte Williams for North Carolina, he's coming in at 7-8. He gets to play North Carolina State, rivalry game. They're a team that gives up a ton of rushing yards, as we know. He's crushing it. He's got 6.8 yards per carry, 430 yards, 7 touchdowns. Also has 9 catches for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's getting it done everywhere for them. And he has 16 rushes of 10 plus yards. So he's kind of the, big pop playability, kind of slate breaker. The receivers for North Carolina in the passing game is really quite wonky right now. It's hard to, I guess, trust in them. They're not putting up the numbers they did last year. And it's really been Javonte Williams and to a lesser extent, Carter.
And
but Williams,
they don't want to price down Sam Howell. It's like he's still expensive.
Nah.
He's not going to ever go down. You can't play him.
It's because I think they must be worried that because eventually, Carolina's, their offense is too good. They will blow up. But right now, it's just the running backs. And I knew Williams was crushing on the ground, but when I saw the 9 catches for 200 yards, my mouth kind of dropped a bit because that's a really big number for somebody who's only played, under about 5 games. So 9 catches for 200 yards. So anytime he touches it, he's looking to take it to the house. So
for sure.
He's getting that Wolfpack matchup that's just been really nice to wide receivers. And then to running backs. And then at wide receiver, it's kind of a collective group. The Alabama receivers, man, they're monsters. Jalen Waddle, 7-7. Devontae Smith, 8-4 this week. So they're definitely expensive. They're playing a Tennessee defense that, has the appearance of being, I guess, solid. But these guys are matchup proof. Against Georgia, they went off again. Waddle has 25 catches on 29 targets. So basically every ball thrown his way, he is catching. He's a monster like that. 557 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he'll get some rushing attempts, which is nice. And then Devontae Smith has 47 total targets. So he's just, he's killing it. He's 38 receptions, 483 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He also has a rushing touchdown. So both of those guys will be involved in gadgetry type plays, getting some rushes here or there. But 66 total. Like I said, Tennessee defense is good, but this Alabama team is on another level right now, and those receivers have slate breaking ability. You got Najee Harris at running back, so you have to respect the running game. Mac Jones is not just a game manager, as a lot of us thought. This is just a really scary offense and one that you want to have pieces of every week. Even though they're expensive, you have to find room for at least 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, they always have these guys that come in, and you're just like you said, you think that they're game managers, and they wind up crushing. So, I think you have to really, you have to be considerate by the fact is that, Saban is not going to put anybody on the field that cannot absolutely torch you. I feel like that. So, you're right. They're going to figure out a way to get the ball in the hands of every one of their receivers one way or another. So they're going to get their touches. Like you said, Smith could just go absolutely nuclear in the first quarter and a half. And guess what? He's going to, wind up sitting a little bit because they want to get Mechie involved or someone else. It's a beast. So, I would say that you're probably only going to be able to play one outside of a GPP stack. So, you got some good options there. Okay, good stuff. So what else you got for us?
So that's kind of my initial take on some cash guys. And then value-wise, looks like there's a couple of blatant misprices on both ways, high priced and low. Max Duggan for TCU, he's only 6'8". He has that dual threat, ability. Gets a pretty nice matchup. It's only a 60 total, but teams against have been done really well. He has a 69% completion rate, which is really impressive for him. He's taken a major step forward this year. 626 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He also has 132 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. So, like I said, that dual threat ability is what really makes him appealing to me. And he's facing that Oklahoma team that hasn't really looked all that good defensively. They've been good offensively. A little. Rattler's been rattled a bit, but I think he does well, and I think that would be two sub 7.5 guys that you could run in your cash lineup and feel pretty good about. If you don't have to pay for Ellinger, you don't have to pay for Lawrence. Hendon Hooker was a guy I really wanted to play, but they even jacked his price up to 8.7. He's like the ultimate dual threat. Had almost 50 fantasy points the other night. Rattler and Mac Jones and Cordell are all over 8K, and that's fine. But I just feel like those two guys are kind of, I guess, the premier solid options for your cash game. So that's where my head's at for value QB.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to say I wanted to look at is I remember, you remember obviously, that when we all kind of got burned by the whole Jake Smith thing for UT, kind of seeing how that's playing out, and they're talking about getting him back in. He took all the stuff off of his socials, and just kind of and I don't know the details behind it. It kind of seemed like a little bit of a immature crybaby kind of move. But whatever. So I'm just kind of wondering how that shakes out. It almost makes me just not want to play any of the Texas guys outside of Moore.
Yeah.
Obviously, Eagles and stuff is there, but I just thought that was kind of interesting because I looked at it while you were talking. I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I wonder if Smith's going to play or whatever's going to go on there, because that's a decent game to target in the Big 12 anytime you can, because nobody plays defense there either. So, anyways, that was just my thoughts off there. What did you have next for us?
And that's to piggyback on that, that's been something I've been able to kind of avoid a little bit, because Texas games are so fantasy friendly and juicy, but they have so many different options. And the running game's been kind of poor, to be honest.
Sure.
At least from a fantasy standpoint, that sometimes you can avoid those guys and let others, especially if they're going to be highly owned, and kind of get away with it. So next up, I'm going to go way down, under 5K. Belton Gardner for Kansas at 4.4. Pete's guy, Puka Williams, is opted out for the remainder of the season. Doesn't say if he's going to transfer or if he's going to try to go to the pros, but Kansas program is kind of a sinking ship this year. I think most of us thought that would be the case. So Belton Gardner kind of steps into that lead back role. He does have 47 carries this year for 223 yards, 2 touchdowns, about 4.8 per carry, so not great. But the K-State defense, both of these teams are terrible. Kansas defense, we know, is horrible. Letty Brown, shout out to Letty Brown for carrying us last week. I don't know why he was under 30% owned. Didn't make sense. So you could probably use like a K-State running back like Deuce Vaughn, who's expensive, but it probably will kill Kansas. But Kansas State defense is also really bad. They're allowing 450 total yards of offense, 171 of which is on the ground. He's already, Gardner with Williams in the lineup, had carried 11, 11, 14, and 11. So he's had 11 to 14 carries in all 4 games with Puka. So it stands to reason without Puka, he may see 20 plus carries. Regardless if Kansas gets smoked or not. They want to try to establish the run, because the QB play has been pretty bad overall. Their receivers are starting to wake up a little bit. Parchment and Robinson had nice catches in this last game. So those were guys who were ham last year. And if they can play well, that opens up the running game. So Gardner at 4.4 might end up being a little bit of a sneakier value, because people don't typically look at Kansas guys. But without Puka, I mean, it just seems like if I can get a guy with 20 plus carries at 4.4, I should do it. So that's kind of where I'm at with the value runnings.
I was gonna say he's a former Texas guy. He played out in Skyline and in Dallas, so I recognize his name. I mean, that's how you are. If you like Texas and you like football and you live in Texas, you usually follow crap like that. It's just random stuff. You're like, oh yeah, I mean, he's from Texas, so a lot of these good the Big 12 players they recruit out of there. But I remember
that'll give you an edge too, because you may have seen him play in high school.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna look in more on him because I recognize the name, and I know. My cousin, he went to Kansas, so we always kind of talk up stuff like that. But from what I remember, he's the guy can play. If he gets opportunity, he's definitely going to crush. And I just never thought we'd be playing him on DraftKings. But hey, here we are, 4,400. Sure. I like it. All right, what else you got?
All right, and then a value guy at receiver. This was a head scratcher for me. Dez Fitzpatrick for Louisville. He's the WR2 for them. He's 4.2K, which he was. I think he was over like 6K at one point because he had such a banging first game. Is in a 61 over under. Facing Florida State. He has 15 catches, 28 targets, 255 yards, and a touchdown. So it's kind of puzzling. This is a pretty big letdown spot for Florida State, I feel like. I'm already seeing a ton of betting touts on Twitter or all over Florida State. Louisville looks bad. Take into account that Louisville just played Notre Dame, which is a very tough opponent. They're very, high pedigree, very good defense. Right. They run a lot. Right. So it's hard. It was going to be hard for Louisville to throw the ball and even have that time of possession to do so. So they didn't look good. So to kind of jump all over FSU in this one seems kind of silly to me. I think if everyone's going that route, I would much rather bet on Louisville if you're a betting person. Sure. And we'll see what G and them say when that time comes. But this definitely feels like a letdown spot. FSU defense is allowing 475 yards of total offense, 283 of it through the air, and almost 200 on the ground. So Dez Fitzpatrick as WR2 at 4.2 is I think you can play him in all formats. Because like I said, he was well over 6K at one point earlier this season. And the guy's still being heavily targeted. His low was 3 targets, and that was last week against Notre Dame. So he's seen high of 11 targets this year. So he's somebody who is certainly mispriced, not to the level of maybe Cokesy was last week, assuming he was going to play. But he's a guy that you should have in your scopes for value. And that goes without saying. If you want to pay up for someone like Tutu Outwell or Javian Hawkins, Marshawn Ford is a cheap tight end for them. All these guys are in bounce back spots. I don't know if I want to use Cunningham just because he's a little wild sometimes, but he does enough to get these guys the ball. So I'm very high on the Louisville skill position guys in a bounce back week.
Okay. Excellent there. So I know we have obviously our main slate. That is what we're covering here on the 24th. We do have something on the 23rd. Are we going to be able to expect a little bit in regards to the write-up for that? Like, what do you got on deck for us?
Yeah, so in addition, we'll have the showdown tomorrow, and then there's a 3-game slate that because the Big Ten is not able to align with Stat Provider. The Wisconsin-Illinois game is not going to be on that, but there will be a 3-game write-up, and then if there's time, depending on I've been having a lot of work lately, so I don't know if I'll be able to do a show. If we can, we definitely will. Otherwise, expect to see our podcast tomorrow. You can listen live or on the recording, and then the Saturday morning Twitch stream as well. So lots of content heading your way for college football. My nice little 48-hour rest period is over, and I'm back hitting things for you guys, getting you the info, and ready to win some money.
All right, man. Excellent. Well, we got Dub Deuces 85. Walt Waddell, guys. If you have not already checked him out, I know he's a big presence on Twitter, huge in the college basketball industry, but we're blessed to obviously have him and Pete to be able to dig into all of this info. For anything alone, if you're playing college sports or any kind of niche sports, for just the information, just the Discord itself, it pays for itself if you were to just come in right now and join our premium subscription for only the 20% discount for your first 3 months, man. I highly advise you to check that out. Like I said, you do have the gentleman's Twitter handles down at the bottom. Shout them out. Give them a mention. There's plenty of stuff on Twitter. Follow that. We have a point system, a YFC point system on our Discord where you are actually given points for free merchandise, free subscriptions, just for posting, following, being in Twitch, being in these Discord chats, and of course, following us on our socials, our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Hit the bell. Like and subscribe to that. Like and subscribe to this Twitch channel, too. Like I said, if you have Amazon Prime, be sure to link those. It helps us out, guys, and we do much appreciate that. Gentlemen, I want to thank y'all very much. I know we're going to kind of transition over to at soccer. That's where my mind's at right now. It's just kind of getting late here. I'm over here pulling one of those old man moves. But, guys, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about EPL soccer coming off of Champions League. We're going to say bye right now to Walt. Pete, thank you, gentlemen. They're going to stick around and listen in, but as always, you can reach out to them. College is going to be big the next couple of days. We've just got the World Series single game going on. Like I said, there's no hockey right now. There's no basketball. This is the way to make your money. So be sure to check these guys out. I do want to talk a little bit in regards to EPL. If you followed us on our Discord, if you're following us on our yourfielderschoice.com, the articles content, we did have Champions League soccer today. We actually do have a Europa League slate tomorrow and the next day, followed by the Premier League on Saturday. But if you follow Champions League today, we crushed. So be sure to check that out in our winning lineups room. Be sure to check us out on Twitter. We were 3 out of 3 on our affiliate Prize Picks as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of big stuff going on, guys. If you played today, you're almost guaranteed to make money. So I do highly suggest you jump in. I want to start with our Premier League EPL content. This is actually our producer, Mickey's favorite segment. He loves talking soccer with me. So, Mickey, shout out to you, buddy. But I do want to talk real quick about our Premier League Saturday slate and what we have on tap. I do want to mention a couple of players first and foremost. We're going to have one pop up on the screen here. I got to see exactly who it is first because I'm not 100% here. But with the Premier League out, we do have a lot of the same faces, new places kind of thing. With this 3-game slate, we do have Hakeem Ziyech that comes over to us from Ajax, one of the European teams, into the Premier League to Chelsea. We've actually long awaited his premiere for Chelsea to start in the starting 11. He's looking to get back to fitness. 100%. Do I know he's going to be in the lineup? Absolutely not. However, I do anticipate once he does come in, once he does have that starting 11 role, he's going to be the primary set piece taker, the primary guy on corners, free kicks, the creator. Chelsea's been kind of mix matching those guys ever since Willian left. And honestly, like I said, we got a lot of guys that are solid in that position, but Hakeem Ziyech is one of those players in DFS soccer, especially from a DraftKings standpoint, where you're making more of your nut on getting peripherals, getting crosses, shots assisted. Those kind of things are going to be very, very beneficial for DraftKings. Obviously, FanDuel is more generated towards goals and scoring and tackles and a little bit different as far as the stats goes. But with Hakeem Ziyech, he's priced down right now at only 7.9K. If he starts, even against Man U's having a lot of trouble right now. I get it. They seem to be scoring sometimes, and I was talking to one of our guys on the wagering team, one of our admins, Gervais, and we were talking about the amount of penalties that Manchester United is getting right now. It's absurd. Like, they get one or give up one like every single game. Ziyech is one of those guys that he doesn't rely on these wonky stats. He's a creator. He definitely can take a team the caliber of Ajax and push them into this Champions League spotlight. Imagine what he can do with the arsenal that he's going to have at Chelsea. So he's a guy that I like to target in cash games. I'm going to target him in GPP with Chelsea stacks, even against a Manchester United team here that's been struggling a little bit. Both these teams defensively have leaked goals, so obviously that's something to look forward to. But at the same time, like I said, Ziyech is one of those guys, you don't know him yet as a Premier League. You know, if you just follow Premier League and you just follow like US soccer or Major League Soccer, MLS, you're not going to know anything really about this guy if you don't follow Champions League or European leagues. But this guy is a stud. So if we have him in on Saturday, I do highly project that he's going to be in my starting lineup, in my main cash lineup as well, along with a few other Chelsea pieces like Ben Chilwell, someone else that we're going to look at. I do want to transition over. We have another player that I want to talk about sitting at the forward position. Let me see if we got Zaha up. We're going to have to see what pops up here. But it's either going to be Zaha or it's going to be one of the other cats. Okay, we got Andrew Robertson. We're going to go him next. We're going to save the icing on top with Zaha last. But Andrew Robertson for Liverpool. I know one of our longtime subscribers, Miggs, he's a big, huge Liverpool guy. Andrew Robertson played today actually in Champions League. He was one of the guys I targeted. He's just a great cash play right now. He's taking a lot of sets. He's doing a lot in regards to just being present for Liverpool in every aspect of their game from the creation, attacking standpoint. Right now, if you're currently looking at him on the defender slate, he's actually priced above Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't know if I'd ever would have said that in the entire history of time, but Trent Alexander-Arnold is not the highest priced defender on a slate that features Liverpool. Robertson has been better as an open play crosser. He's had more corners. He currently has a game log in a full 90 minutes of 15, 14, 24, 15.9, and 14.8 this season while on the DraftKings slates. Guys, 7.3K may seem like a lot as a defender, but in this game against Sheffield United, Liverpool is going to be a big favorite. You're going to want to target one, if not both, of Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, in your cash lineups. But like I said, I do want to make sure that when you're building these cash lineups, it's important to be able to insulate yourself with guys like this, guys that are going to be really big into accruing peripheral points, building their floors in DFS. So Andrew Robertson is somebody that I'm going to be very interested in today. You're going to have to excuse my picture. I turned to green and I look like a controller for a second, but I'm going to make sure to fix that for you. But I do want to talk a little bit about our third player, Wilfried Zaha for Crystal Palace. Zaha is one of those players that is in the Premier League. He's never been on one of the top 6 teams. Crystal Palace has always been underperforming, but Zaha is one of those guys that he has incredible speed, skill with the ball. He's one of those guys that is going to be playing up front. He actually is taking penalty kick duty right now, which is one of the things that is beneficial to any player. He's taken some set pieces in the past, even though someone like an Andrews Townsend or maybe even a Luka Milivojevic for Crystal Palace would be the set taker. I highly anticipate we're going to see a lot of Zaha here. He's just a guy that can break open any team at Manchester City, Man United. Any team he plays against is going to be he's going to be a threat. He's playing against Fulham, guys. This could be a very much a Crystal Palace stack type of 3-game slate here, just because the price tags on these guys are going to be so low. Right now, Zaha is priced up for his normal price at 8.1. You see Townsend at 8.7. I personally would prefer Zaha. He's more of an attacking option. He has a higher floor. For someone like him on FanDuel, he would be an absolute lock for me. Fulham have been just giving up a ton of goals recently. I don't even know exactly from their goalie side. I actually want to look at that right now. I think Areola has been their goalie, or Rodak. But so they've been giving up a ton of goals. They have not had a clean sheet in any game this year in the Premier League. So obviously Zaha is going to be someone that we're going to definitely want to jump on there. Also with that, if you're looking at just from a Crystal Palace stack standpoint, we're outside of Townsend and Zaha, you're obviously Ebereke Eze is a former EFL Championship player who is starting to start with Crystal Palace. He has a ton of attacking upside. Patrick Van Ault, Jeremy Schlupp, we talked about Luka Milivojevic there, Tyreek Mitchell. Crystal Palace is not generally somewhere we're going to go, guys. 3-game slate playing against Fulham. We're going to be all over it. I do want to mention, like I said, if you're not currently following us on our free Discord, please jump into that. You're going to see all of our content posted. You're going to see a lot of other options and opportunities for you to be able to diversify your DFS wagering portfolio, including our affiliate Prize Picks. That's something else I do want to mention before we close out, is that Prize Picks, using code YFC, you're going to get 100% deposit match bonus up to $100 right now. We give you free 2, 3, and 4 pick entries on the site, a daily Prize Pick articles, along with one specifically for NFL. We were 3 out of 3 for soccer today, guys. That was free money for you. Like I said, jump into that if you're not already in. Like I said, we're going to have a lot going on this weekend. We got, in addition to all the sports we're talking about, of course, we got NFL going on. We're going to continue to cover the MLB World Series. And of course, like I said, you got MMA. We have golf coming out. Be sure to check out some of those articles tonight. And of course, with our wagering team, if you have not checked them out, the wagering team is low-key on fire right now. I don't know if they were like 9-1 or 10-1 or something in their last plays, their last 11 or 12 plays. But check them out. Check out our PointsBet affiliate as well. If you'll see the links on the site, guys. If this is your drive to work tomorrow, or this is just you winding down tonight, I appreciate your time with us. Thank you so much for all you do for us. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe. My name's Adam at YFC Sports V12. This is yourfilterchoice.com. This is our Wednesday night for Thursday DFS preview. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the music on the way out.
German whips, fancy cars, they play the game, but they know who the champions are. Every time we pull up, it's like a damn bazaar. They scream our name, try to get us on the camera. Flashing lights, so I ain't the flashy type. I just push a big whips with the fastest pipe. Can't match his price. Model nigga catch for life, but I still never pay the full package price. And fuck the law.